Well, hello everyone and welcome back to Valorant Quick Tips. Now for newcomers to Valorant, it's a bit overwhelming when you're faced with the agent selection screen for the first time. So today we're going to be going over the agents you should pick in your first few games. One for players with little or no FPS experience at all, one for those who are a little bit more familiar with shooters and want to play around with the abilities, and finally, one for my CSGO boys coming over to Valorant for the first time. No matter who you are, I've got a recommendation to ensure you have the best experience possible and crucially help your team along the way. The first thing to note is that not all of the agents are unlocked when you first boot up the game. This limits the options for beginners somewhat, but do not fear. The initial roster gives you some great agents to choose from. For total beginners to the FPS genre, or perhaps PC shooters altogether, my first pick is Sova. My reasoning here is actually pretty simple, so allow me to explain. Whilst the agents and abilities are obviously a big differentiating factor in Valorant, it was the devs' goal to ensure that gunplay was still the main focus and the main way to get kills, clear sights, and win rounds. If you're new to concepts such as spray control, crosshair placement, and movement inaccuracy, my advice is to focus on getting these down first and foremost. It might seem like a shame to ignore all the flashy and interesting abilities, but honestly, they're all pretty useless if you can't hit a barn door with your rifle. The reason why Sova is a good pick here is that apart from his owl drone, which you can honestly ignore to begin with, his abilities are all fire and forget, meaning they don't take you out of the gunplay as much as something like Sage's wall or Brimstone's smokes. His arrows are also very intuitive to use, but as long as you fire the occasional recon arrow at the beginning of a round, you should probably forget about them and focus on clicking heads. The other reason this makes Sova a good pick is that his abilities are generally a lot less impactful on the team's overall performance versus other agents. There's definitely an argument for saying that Sage is a better pick for total beginners because you can have impact with your abilities even if you have potato aim with the guns. But here on this channel, I want to help you actually improve, and you should avoid using abilities as a crutch. Okay, so our next pick is ideal for players who are coming from Overwatch or MOBAs and have at least some experience in shooting games with a mouse and keyboard. Sage is the obvious choice here, as she has a great set of impactful abilities and is arguably the strongest of all 5 default agents right now. As someone with a good grasp of hero-based metas, you'll know how important it is to get the most out of her skill set, which is powerful but easy to learn. It's definitely safe to say she's more of a support type agent and is better on defense than offense. But while this might not sound like your cup of tea, it's probably a good idea to play a little bit more defensive for your first few matches, learning the game and mastering the gunplay as you go. If you want a bit more of an all-rounder, you could also go with Brimstone, who's better balanced for both attacking and defending, but is still a very intuitive and simple agent to pick up and play. Now, I couldn't do a video like this without dedicating a pick to my fellow CS brethren coming over from the OG competitive FPS kings. Speaking from experience, any half-decent CS player does already have a sizable advantage coming into Valorant, but that said, there's still a lot to get used to in terms of abilities, movement, and the maps. If you want to be good straight off the bat then, it makes sense to minimize those differences as much as possible and let your existing skill set do its work. There are 2 agents in Valorant with abilities that strongly resemble the utility we all know and love from CS. Brimstone with his smokes and molly, and Phoenix with his flashes and fireball, which behaves exactly like the aforementioned molly. I personally picked Brimstone for my first 2 games for this exact reason, and I certainly have no regrets. The smoke wall feels really powerful as a CS player who's used to carrying only 1 smoke grenade, and the molly is great for zoning off areas when you push for info. Phoenix is arguably more fun to play, although his firewall and flashes are a little bit awkward to get right. The choice between the 2 basically comes down to your playstyle. As I already mentioned, Brimstone is a fantastic all-rounder on both sides, but suits a slightly less aggressive player who doesn't mind taking the time out to pull up a tablet and aim their smokes. Phoenix is definitely suited to more of an entry fragger role though, with his ultimate allowing you to push out and take fights essentially for free. I will leave the decision down to you. Finally, I want to quickly touch on the only default agent I haven't mentioned at all so far, Jett. The reason I haven't recommended her for any new players, regardless of their background, is, well, she's just kind of difficult to play really well. I actually love playing as Jett, and she's probably the agent I've spent the most time with so far, but her abilities are incredibly situational and have got me killed multiple times. She's just not noob friendly in any sense, and you're probably better off letting a more experienced Jett player pick her, to be honest. I will, however, have some Jett guides coming out on the channel soon, so stay tuned. Anyway, that's about all we've got time for. Let me know who you picked for your first game and whether you agree with my picks, and if you have any suggestions for future videos, leave them in the comments as well. If you're new here, then hit that subscribe button, ding the bell for notifications, and why not check out my Twitch where I stream every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. In fact, I'll be live over there tonight checking out the new ranked mode, so come and say hi. Thanks very much for watching, folks, and I will see you on the next one.